All right, y'all. Welcome back here. Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Money Sports Podcast. Of course, me myself as always, Sanders here. I got my guy Dupree here with me.
What's going on, man? How we doing?
Man, it's been a long
You
week.
cold? You cold down there?
hey, hey,
Cold
man.
down there?
Look. One of these mornings, bro. One of these mornings earlier this week, I woke up and the temperature was 6 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And when the wind chill factored in, it felt like -8.
There you go.
I
Hey,
said, this ain't it.
welcome, welcome to Ohio. You see what I was? You see what I was in for 3 years, dog. Welcome,
Man.
welcome. I'm talking about from January winter in Ohio to almost May, bro. It almost
Bro,
stayed cold
that
almost through
that
May.
bro, that was insane, bro. Like, we've like seen snow. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And it'd be like, all right, it'll snow, but we'd be like, oh, it ain't warm enough to stick. So like it'll come down and it'll be gone. Or it'd be like
Yeah.
one day it snow and then it's like, all right, it stick a little bit because it's below freezing. And then the next day it
Mm-hmm.
warms back up. And 2 days later, like it's gone
It's
and everything
yeah.
like that. Bro, it started snowing here. It's like Sunday evening
Mm-hmm.
and it did not stop until probably like late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. I'm like, I ain't never seen it just constantly just coming down. I mean, like coming down, bro. And then it didn't make it no better that it was like I don't think, bro, this whole week the high ever reached 20 degrees. So we talking about it's just cold all day.
Mm-hmm.
So even when the
Mm-hmm.
sun come out, like it's cool, but then I'm like, when the sun go down, and it's like even more cold. You
Yeah,
deal with
yeah,
that, and
yeah.
then it's like now what was snow is now turning into ice,
Yeah.
and now like every time I'm walking out to go downstairs to the whip, I'm like checking to see where the slick spot is, so I don't slip and bust
Yeah,
and
yeah.
fall, slip down and bust my tail out on the
Boy.
street, boy. Because I'm trying to make sure I don't do none of that, because
You gotta be
you
careful.
know
It'll get you.
it's yeah, it's different if you kind of like it's different when it's kind of fresh and you fall in the grass where the snow is, you know what I'm saying? It's cool, right? But once you walk out on that street
It
or
ain't
the
nothing out there
sidewalk, it ain't nothing for you to give on,
but
bro.
concrete.
That's
That's it.
still concrete. So it's kind of like, man, I ain't trying to bust and fall, man. We saw a couple people out there slip and fall. I'm talking about,
Oh yeah.
boy, bust they tail. So I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to make sure me
Mm-hmm.
me and me and a neighbor get out the whip the same time, and we walking up towards the building, and we literally both like walking like this.
I'm talking about
Yeah, we
by
trying
inch,
to you
trying to
feel me
make sure.
trying to pick the right spot so to make sure. Oh nah, that one a little slick. Okay, this one ain't as bad. Let's step here. All right, let's step here. Let's step. Ooh, oh, you almost
That
got
ain't
me.
it.
Oh, let me go. I'm telling you, bro. I was like,
Hey,
dude, this
that's
this
funny, man.
this ain't it, bro. But yeah, man. I mean, down here in Tennessee, it's been crazy. Pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
we've been. I don't want to say snowed in, but to a certain extent, for at least a day or two, you had nowhere to go or didn't want to go nowhere
Mm-hmm.
unless you had to. And if you did, I don't know why you did, but well, whatever. But other than that, man, I've been good, man. How about yourself, bro?
Been good. Good, man. We on the recruiting trail, man. So we just visits after visits after visits. So we into it. We into it deep right now. These official visits and everything. So it's been solid. It's been solid for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it is about that time, man, and
Mm-hmm.
it's everything's going along, chugging along here. We fresh into the new year still. And it seemed like we just started the new year, and now we already pretty much halfway through January.
Mm-hmm.
So it's moving along. Uh, we just got done with the first round of the NFL playoffs. That was a crazy wild card weekend for sure.
Man,
Uh, some games went the way we thought it would go, and some went the complete opposite of what we thought was going to
man.
happen. and now we set up for some great divisional matchups. And to be honest, man, the last couple of years, the divisional rounds have produced
Some of the best games,
some great games.
man.
So definitely looking forward to that over in the NFL. In the NBA, man, they're about, as far as game scheduling wise, they're about halfway through the season now. So we're at the halfway point of the NBA, and we're getting closer and closer to All Star break. We're about probably another month away
Hmm.
on the calendar away from All Star break out there in Indianapolis. By the way, have you heard? Have you seen that they have like this setup or like this? I don't know if it's an actual setup of it or if it's just like a I don't even know how to describe it, but there's like a basketball court in the airport at the Indianapolis airport.
I did see that.
Okay,
I
okay,
did see. I have
okay.
seen that. At first, I was like, "Huh?"
that
But
is
no, I
that
did.
is wild to me, bro.
That's wild. It's hard, but it's wild. Because now it's like, okay, I want to hoop, but I gotta pay for a plane ticket to be able to go to the Indianapolis airport to be able to hoop, and you probably won't get there early enough. Like I don't know who's actually in there playing like full on games, but no, I did see that. But I mean, Indiana is a basketball state. Like
Yeah,
it's that's what they do in Indiana. They play basketball, so
yeah.
it doesn't surprise me too much. They're embracing the fact that the All Star Weekend is there and all that. Is it just there for because All Star Weekend, or is it like in the airport for good?
I
That
think
that
it's
that would be different.
I think it's just there for All Star Weekend. The way it's
Okay, there
set
you
up,
go.
I think they just have it
Okay.
set up just because they have the All Star game there this year.
Hmm.
I hope that's what it is. I don't. I hope that's
Yeah.
not nothing that's continuously gonna be there because that's gonna be very weird. But that's that's a
Yeah, I
way to
would
catch
think.
everybody's attention. I think that's very
Yes.
it's very very clever for sure. So
I'm gonna say this real
it's
quick. Hartsfield Jackson, don't you do that. If the All Star if the All Star game come to
what
Atlanta, don't you do that.
Memphis International don't do. They don't even need
Mm-mm.
All Star Weekend for that. They'll set it up just because
Yeah, we don't need that.
don't
Hartsfield Jackson is busy enough. You do
enough.
not need extra. You do not need extra people walking around there trying to figure out what they're doing. And there's a basketball hoop somewhere. Don't do it. Don't get no ideas.
Cause you go, man,
No ideas,
you gonna have folks who ain't even trying to catch no flight. Just pull up, just pull
bro.
up. Be like,
It's
I'm
gonna be
trying to
people that
hoop,
work at the airport.
trying to hoop. Ain't checking no bags. Ain't doing none of the
Nothing.
pre-checks at
TSA.
TSA. They
Nothing.
ain't doing none of that. They
You
trying to
might as well
just
get your clear blue or your TSA pre-check if
and,
that's the case.
and get it
Yeah.
out the
So
way,
mm-mm,
man. But yeah,
mm-mm,
the All Star game this year is going to be in Indianapolis, and I mean, speaking of
mm-mm,
Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers make a big move here right before I guess as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, which I'm not sure
mm-hmm,
exactly what's the date on it for the NBA, but it's getting around that time to where it's getting there. It's going to be getting closer because we're getting close. Like I said, we're at that halfway point of the season, so it can't be too far away. I'm assuming, right? Probably got to be maybe within the next month, sometime in February, I believe it usually
February
is
8th.
anyway.
February
Oh,
8th.
okay, so yeah, so really we're about a couple weeks away, about 2 3 weeks away from the trade deadline. So
Mm-hmm,
it's how the NBA get for sure.
mm-hmm,
It starts ramping up, and before you know it, it'll be some more trades here getting out. But obviously now this is the biggest one that has happened so far, which ended up kind of in totality ended up being like a 3 team trade, but so
mm-hmm,
the way it got set up is a little different. But uh, Toronto Raptors forward or former Toronto Raptors forward now Pascal Siakam traded from Toronto to Indianapolis, uh, and the Pacers ended up sending Bruce Brown, which kind of was a shocker to a certain extent. They just got him in here this year, signed him to
mm-hmm,
his deals, for agency deal. Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora sent them off to Toronto, and then the Pelicans got involved as well, sending Kira Lewis Jr. and a second round pick for this upcoming draft to Indiana originally. Then they just sent that off to Toronto as well. So the Pelicans got involved as well a little bit with a 3 team trade, and that's what's going on with that. And obviously, that's big news for the Pacers to bring in Pascal Siakam, who's
mm-hmm.
only 29 years old. I think he's making like 37, 38 million this year. Set to be a free agent, I believe, after the end of the season. So clearly, him getting dealt to Indianapolis to the Pacers in Indiana, maybe he's thinking about wanting to, get a deal there with them because obviously whoever he was
Mm-hmm.
trying to go to getting traded, which we always was hearing his name in a bunch of trade rumors anyway, that it was bound to be happening. We're just trying to figure out who and where and who would take him on because wherever he goes, they would probably want to look into wanting to sign him to a long term deal, but get him another deal here
Yep.
once this contract is up. I mean, Siakam's good guy, man. I mean, he's averaging 22 points this year, 6 rebounds, close to 5 assists. Um, I mean, he's when you look at it in totality, I think that's a good lineup here going with him, and of course you got Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. So on paper, it kind of does look like a pretty good lineup. They do sit, I think, at fifth or sixth right now in the conference, in the stand as far as over in the East. When you saw the trade first happen, what was your initial reaction, and where do you think that moves in the Indiana at any point of the pecking order of the Eastern Conference?
So I like the move. I did not know they got rid of Bruce Brown. I literally just found that out before we started the podcast. I saw they traded Pascal Siakam for Pascal Siakam, but I never looked into the details of it. So I don't know how I feel about them getting rid of Bruce Brown because I think Bruce Brown was a good pickup for them. But Pascal Siakam is a good veteran player. He's been an All Star. He's an NBA champion, and I think he kind of helps show them up defensively a little bit. We know the Pacers can score. We know the Pacers can score. They can score the basketball. All right. They had, I believe, it's got to be multiple 150-point games. Like they can score,
Yeah,
but when they,
I think they're either top two, top three, maybe number one scoring team in
mm,
the league, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you
yeah, but when they score 150 points, they're giving up 140, 145. So I think Pascal Siakam at least helps with that because he is a solid defender. Um, they're seventh right now in the East, so they'll be in the play-in. I don't know if they're better than Miami still. Are they better than the Knicks? Those top four teams, you got Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, and Cleveland. I don't think they touched those four. Can they get a 6 seed so that they're not in the play-in? Maybe, possibly. But they got to be able to stop some folks, and that's their issue right now. Maybe Pascal Siakam helps them out with that. That would be my thought process. That's kind of what I was thinking going into it. Like, okay, you got your veteran guy that can defend a little bit, especially down there in the front court. So I think it's solid. I just think if they could have held on to Bruce Brown, I think I would feel a whole lot better about it. The fact that they couldn't hold on to Bruce Brown, um, kind of makes me a little shaky about it. But I don't think it pushed them over the hump or makes them any better than Miami or the Knicks, for that matter.
yeah. For me, when I saw the trade, I was kind of like, okay, I guess. And then my first thought was, okay, how would this work with? I figured, pairing him up with, Halliburton is fine because
Hmm.
Pascal doesn't necessarily, need the ball in his hand, but he has improved
Yeah,
each year offensively. I was thinking about how would that work for our spacing with him and Miles Turner.
yeah, yeah.
That's kind of where I was thinking, like, how, if they can make it work by all means, then great. But if it doesn't work because of however the dynamic will be with them,
Hmm.
then I'm not sure. And for me, um, it didn't really move the needle, I would say, for me either. Like, I don't think
Hmm.
it jumped them up until, like, oh, they can be a top four team now in the conference. I thought, I mean, I think it could possibly maybe, be enough with
Hmm.
with the Knicks, maybe Miami, but I'm not sure. I mean, because we know how great Miami can be
Yeah.
at any given time, and we know the Knicks made the move to get OG Anunoby from Toronto,
Mhm.
so that's definitely improved them as well, um, too. So yeah, it really didn't. I don't know. It really didn't like move the needle for me. I mean, I thought it was a nice trade. I don't think nobody left out
Mhm.
disappointed or felt like somebody got off
Yeah.
too easy or got away with too much.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I mean, I hate that Bruce Brown is getting shipped around like this so much for
Man,
a guy who was so vital
to
to
a
a championship
championship.
run. Just this past season. So I kind of don't really understand that, but that's the business side of it. I
Mhm.
understand. Things can happen like that. You can be in one place 1 minute, the next place you got to get ready to go somewhere else. So
Boy.
that's just part of it. Um, and then I just look at it for I guess like far as Toronto's side of it. I mean, you get Bruce Brown. New Orleans kind of been bouncing around here from team to team himself. Um, and it's pretty much you can tell now, like it kind of weird that now you think about it, that was 5 years ago, that they won that championship, and pretty much most every integral piece from that
Yup.
championship team is now gone. Kawhi Leonard goes to the Clippers. Fred Van Vliet now is in Houston.
Mhm.
Kyle Lowry is in Miami. Siakam is, now in Indianapolis and Indiana.
Mhm.
Um, Marcus Hall is out, is not
Yeah.
even playing ball anymore. It's just kind of weird how like, and it don't seem like it's been that long, but the name you think about, it's kind of been that long that
Yeah.
you
It's been a little
know
minute.
that
Yeah.
that team and what happened there that year is
Mhm.
there. Now there were some talks that the Warriors threw their hat out to Siakam, um, but
Mm.
he was unsure of wanting to stay there long term. Um, which I guess I can kind of see maybe why he was hesitant with that, because let's just be real, most of their core guys are starting to get a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Um, they're kind of up and down. The young guys you don't know, and Siakam is kind of somewhat is going into his prime. I mean, like I said, he has improved each year offensively.
Yeah.
Um, I looked up, I saw his numbers here from like his all time numbers, how where it ranks as far as like franchise history with the Raptors. He's pretty much like top five in almost every category. Top five in points. I think he's third in rebounds. Top five in number five in assists. And I didn't know he had this many 30-point games. He had 63 30-point games in Toronto, and that got him
Nah, I
his
didn't.
third all time too on the team's list. So
Hmm.
I didn't know I didn't. That lets you know how much he improved like each year as far as scoring the basketball. Like I said,
Yeah.
two-time All-Star, NBA champion. So where does he rank? I guess as far as all-time Raptors, that's a discussion for like Toronto fans. Uh,
Mhm.
but now I guess when you think about his tenure there, being there for 8 seasons, you have to kind of have him in that conversation. But obviously, Toronto's kind of just blowing it up. Like it looks like it's going to be Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett's team to run.
Mhm.
Emmanuel quickly. So and now getting Bruce Brown. So it's like that's
They got
which
some good young pieces. Yeah.
yeah, and they like to run up and down the court too. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're first in fast break points, and then Indiana's right behind them. So Siakam really is just going to another team that likes to run up and down the score too, to
Mhm.
a certain extent. But he does bring a defensive presence that you can definitely say that the Pacers are lacking
Yeah.
to have, and I think they'll give him that. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it didn't really move the needle for me. It didn't make me say, "Oh, well, they got a chance to." I guess to be a top 14. But it does tell to me, I would say it can have it to where if they were a 6 or 7 or even a 5 seed, that they have a chance, depending on who they are and who they match up with, especially Milwaukee. It seems like that they have their number for some reason. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers could find a way, depending on who they play, matching up in the playoffs, where they could end up upsetting somebody in the first round just because they have the talent there around it for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man.
So, you know, big move right there. Like we said, the trade deadline is just a few more weeks away, so we could be seeing some more trades like this happening, or it could stay put. Never know with the NBA, but moves are always being made there in the trade deadline there. They're at the halfway point through the season now too. Most teams have played at least about 39 to 40 games, so
Hmm.
right along there at that halfway point as we get ready to get closer to that All Star break, get them a little break, and then finish out the rest of the season and get to the playoffs here. So um, a lot of surprises, a lot of probably disappointments out here that we didn't see coming. What's your biggest surprises so far in the season this year?
The biggest surprise for me is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I did not see. It was a shock when I found out that they were the number one seed, and they have not relinquished it. Um, and Edwards is playing like a man. Um, I saw the dunk he had the other night. That was that was crazy.
That was
He's averaging
insane.
26, 5 and 5 on Karl Anthony Towns. He's averaging 21 points, 8 rebounds. Gobert, he's averaging a double double, 13 points, 12 rebounds. They're playing good basketball as a team. I really didn't know how the Cat and Gobert pairing was going to work, but it seems to be working fine for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Mike Conley bringing that veteran leadership. He's been definitely a good piece for them as well. They are the Timberwolves are rolling right now. They're playing some good basketball. They are definitely a surprise for me. Um, I saw Anthony Edwards play live when he was at Georgia. Went to a basketball game when he was at Georgia and knew that he can play, man. But he's definitely developed. He's continued to grow each and every year. And this year, man, he's taking it to another level and he's leading these dudes. Um, it's funny, and you see all the comparisons, man. Like he looks very he looks a lot like 23 that used to play in Chicago.
It's,
Um,
it's some
he
of it
look
is kind of
he
scary for sure.
he looks like him a little bit too. Like he looks like him a little bit, and then you see him play, and it's like there's some similarities, man. But he's leading this squad. Cat, Gobert, Conley, like they're playing good basketball. So they're definitely a surprise team for me at this point in the season.
Yeah, my surprise from honestly, my surprise for me is just the whole Western Conference in general. I mean, the teams that you didn't think that would be like up there at the top, like Minnesota, like
Hmm.
OKC, are sitting there 1 and 2 in the West, right? You mentioned about
Hmm.
Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, then you look at Oklahoma City, with Shea Gilgis Alexander and
Yeah.
Lou Dort. That's been coming along to where he's building offensive repertoire. He's not just a 3 and D kind of guy anymore. Jalen Williams, and this is a young team, right? Jalen Williams,
Yeah.
only like 22, 23 years old, young team. Chet Holmgren is having, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the biggest Chet fan when we drafted him. I was
Yeah.
not. I wasn't the biggest Chet fan, but he's starting to grow on me, and he's improving, you know, game by game. He's right there in the conversation, in the rookie of the year conversation, right there with
Hmm.
Wimby as well. So, the fact that those teams are like we're sitting, we thought that they could be good
Yeah.
playoff teams, in the hunt, fighting for, maybe between that 4 to 7 seed, as they're improving. But I don't think we saw them being up ahead of, Denver, Sacramento, the Clippers like they are, Phoenix like they are. And then as a surprise too is kind of more so like the teams that you kind of had in those conversations, like Golden State, like the Lakers,
Hmm.
are pretty much fighting for their lives right now just to stay
Man.
at 500. You know what I mean? So um, I'm just surprised at how the standings look in general, just because I mean you have your normal suspects who we thought would be in that conversation where they're in the top
Hmm.
5 to 6, where you got Denver, the Clippers, Sacramento, New Orleans. We figure, those teams will be in there, but you would have thought, okay, hey, uh, every year it seems like we're talking about, well, the Lakers have this type of roster where they do this, and it's like where they're sitting at 10th or 11th in the West. They're like at in the last spot, kind of sort of for the play in, right? Golden State is just they've been just so up and down. I mean,
Yeah,
everything like
yeah,
that. So that was kind of just my surprise in general, just how the whole Western Conference looks
yeah.
right now. Uh, and on one side is surprisingly good. You got another side that's surprisingly bad. Who are you disappointed in so far right now in this first half of the season?
Man, I could pick a couple teams, man, but the team I would say, man, is Golden State. It's Golden State, man. I not saying that they're cooked and that they're done, but they're sitting at 18-22. I was hoping that they have one more run in them. I would like to see them at least make one more run. Um, with Clay, Steph, and Draymond leading the leading the way, and just seems like that injury to Clay, man, he just hadn't been able to shake it off and get back to playing ball um, at the level that he was before he got hurt. Obviously, we know what's been going on with Draymond, couple suspensions, and then him being suspended indefinitely and things like that. And then it's Steph too. It's been a rocky start to the year, and I know it's definitely not going the way that they thought it would. They have some time to change that, but the Golden State Warriors, man, they've been a disappointment to me so far. I don't want to say they're done as presently constructed. I don't want to say they're cooked. They might have to make a change. They might have to make some roster changes, and it might have to be one of those three guys getting not, possibly not being in Golden State anymore. But I think if this is how it's going to end, I just don't. I don't. I would hate to see a dynasty the caliber of the Warriors with those four guys or three guys, excuse me, that were the core of it. You just kind of hate to see it end like that, where they can't go out on their merit, or we have a distorted vision of who they are and what they are as players collectively and individually. So right now it's Golden State. Like I said, you got time to turn it around and get some things rolling, but they got to get the going real fast if they're gonna do that.
Yeah, they do. I have a couple um, teams on my list. I'm kind of disappointed in because I one team is kind of just unfortunate because of injuries, but then the other team is just too much inconsistencies. Uh, it's and they each both from the hometown. So I mean, you got the Atlanta Hawks. Uh, I
Oh,
mean,
don't get me started. I there was one, but I decided not to say nothing.
yeah, I mean, sitting at 17-23, so right there on the outside looking in. I think in the play in area, and it's just I don't know, right? It's kind of they just it's mind boggling, right? Because I mean they have games to where they put on the offensive output that that they can put. Like they had a game not so long ago against Oklahoma City. They put up 141. They win 141 to 138. And they do pretty well. And then they have a game where a couple games ago they lose to the Wizards and have like their worst offensive performance, in a long time. So it's just kind of like it's very confusing on how just inconsistent they have
Hmm.
been. We're talking about a team that wasn't just a few years removed from being in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you thought this could be what you
Yeah.
projected to see for them to continuously be in the conversation of those teams in the Eastern Conference, and it just hasn't worked out for them yet. And I mean, and Quinn Snyder I think is a great head coach. So I mean,
Uh,
I don't know what it is. And then you kept hearing about, which you still kind of hearing too, the rumors of possibly trading away DeJounte Murray again and
hmm.
landing spots for that, and what could they do with that? I mean, so much has just been changing in and out of there. So much that you're hearing. It's just kind of like you would think that could be a team to where that could be up there in the likes of with New York, Miami, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They should be somewhere in that conversation, and the fact that they're
Yep.
not is just at worst that's where they should be at. And they have the potential to where they could be past that, and it's just for some reason they just can't consistently put it together. And then my other team was the Memphis Grizzlies. Um, Kind of some more disappointing for them just because of they just once every year there's always one or two teams they just get hit real bad with the injury bug, and it just this year it seems
Mm-hmm.
like it's Memphis. I mean, you are before the season even start, you hear about Steven Adams not being able to come back this season when we thought he would be back. Still waiting on Brandon Clark's return from the Achilles
Mm-hmm.
injury. John Morant has a 25-game suspension. They start off 6-19. He comes back. They reel off. They won 6 out of the 9 games that he played, and then he gets hurt shoulder. He's out for the year. So then it's just like, okay, there's that. Derrick Rose has been in and out of the lineup. Marcus Smart in and out of the lineup. Desmond Bain gets hurt, and it's so it's just kind of like
Yeah.
I mean the crazy thing is they're not really that far back from like the last play in spot. They're only 5 games back, so it's like it's kind of doable, but it's just kind of like it's hard, man, to try to especially out there in the West. It's hard to consistently
Yeah.
really just try to get on any type of real winning streak because there's so many good teams out there. I mean, we already mentioned a bunch of them before anyway, so it's just I don't know. It's kind of hard, and because I kind of thought just because of the stigma that they had and how everything was that even without John Morant,
Yeah.
they could find a way to still be in contention and be in the thick of it. Well, it's like now, all right, he's hurt, he's done. No Steven Adams, waiting on Clark. Marcus Smart gets hurt. Desmond Bain gets hurt. So it's just kind of like now they're just out there. It's pretty much Jaren Jackson Jr. And a bunch of young guys, younger guys. I mean, because they're still young
Mm-hmm.
too. But now they just trying to figure out what can they do to right this ship for their season, just to keep competing and everything like that. So I know like the injuries they can't control, but that's kind of those kind of disappointing for them as well, just because of the way that they've improved the last few years too as well, and
Mm-hmm.
time again is just constantly being in that conversation, and now pretty much having a down year. So kind of sucks for sure for both the home teams that they just
Yeah,
can't
man.
either get out from themselves or the injury bug hit them. But still a
Yeah.
long way to go. Still a long way to go. Halfway through the season, a lot could change. Like you said, when the trade deadline comes up, who knows who could be moved or staying put, or that some all it takes is pretty much one move, and it
Yeah.
could be the difference. I mean, we've seen that happen in the last probably 2 or 3 championship runs that I can think of. A team made a certain move, and it was just like it ends up being the difference in them winning or losing uh, a championship. So a long way to go in the NBA season as that goes along for sure. Uh, when that comes about, so we'll definitely keep being on the lookout for that and giving out the info for that as well.
Yeah.
Moving on now to over to the NFL as the playoffs goes along. Here setting up for the divisional round. We just had a crazy wild card weekend. We saw Houston pretty much reel off about what like 21 straight or 21, 28 straight it seemed like against Cleveland to end up dismantling them.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Kansas City survived that brutal cold weather game and took care of Miami. The Buffalo game was so bad they couldn't even play it Sunday. Had to move it to Monday because it's just so much snow. But Buffalo took care of business
Yeah.
against the Steelers. That's all over in the AFC, and then in the NFC. Uh, Great game between the Detroit Lions and then the Los Angeles Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I saw people in the stands crying
I mean,
crying because it had
it's been a
been so
long
long.
time,
Yeah,
man.
it had been so long since the Detroit Lions have won a playoff game. So,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, 30 at least 30 plus years. So now I think the longest drought of a playoff win now belongs to the Miami Dolphins. So it's been
Mm,
a long time since they've won a playoff game now too.
okay.
So I think they hold the longest drought. And then seeing pretty much the NFC East just get dismantled in a span of 48 hours, right? The Eagles gets mollywopped on Monday night in Tampa down to Tampa Bay, which you called it. You
Called it.
called it. You did. You
Yeah.
called it. And uh Dallas pretty much getting
Yeah.
mollywopped on Sunday, which I didn't necessarily call it, but I was like, hey, watch out for this.
Man, I ain't see that, man. They blew
And
it.
I mean, I thought they would still win it, but I didn't. I did. So I was like, watch out for it. But goodness, I was just like, okay,
Them, them boys
um,
didn't show up at all, man.
at all. They picked the worst time not to show up, and obviously since coaches are looking to vacancies are still looking to get filled, and there was the murmurs going around where, hey, there's still teams that's still in it, and if the certain team loses, then maybe their coach will
Hmm.
get gone, and everybody knew that they was talking about Dallas, and so then of course the Cowboys lose, and I know the score says 48-32, but in reality it wasn't even that close.
It was not.
And obviously the word goes out to be like, all right, Mike McCarthy has to be gone. Fire him. We need to get somebody
Hmm.
else in. 3 straight years, 12-5, won the division 2 out of the last 3 years, but they hadn't reached now the NFC Championship. I think for the 28 season. So as long as we've been alive, they haven't they
Yo,
they
that's
haven't
crazy.
been to an NFC Championship game, right? So well, now we get the news that Mike McCarthy is being retained. He's going to finish
Hmm.
out his at least this last year of his 5 year contract coming up here. So 4 seasons. I mean, 42-25, 3 straight playoff
Hmm.
appearances. Because his first year they went 6-10. But the next 3 years they've gone 12-5 here. But just like what's been going on pretty much with the franchise the last 2 decades, no real success in the playoffs. A lot of regular season success to a certain extent. I mean, there's a whole bunch of years with Jason Garrett where they just went 8-8 all the time, but you know, um, 42 and
Yeah.
25 here in 4 seasons with McCarthy, but 1-3 in the playoffs, and their only one win was on the road to, let's just be real, a bad Tampa Bay team who was in a terrible division last season. So what I guess what do you make of McCarthy? Still being there, and is anything do you think anything is even really going to change with them, or do you think that Jerry Jones is pretty much just going to let him be a lame duck, let him finish out this next season, and it doesn't matter what he do unless he wins the Super Bowl, that he's going to be gone in 25?
Yeah, I think the big thing just came down to who do you go and get? Who do you go and get? Do you go? Can you get John Harbaugh to come to Dallas? Can you get Bill Belichick to come to Dallas, or do you run it back one more time? Something's got to give. Something's got to change, though. Um, I was one of those guys. I was like, I don't know if he should get fired or not. Like they, the reason you would say that Mark McCarthy would get fired is because of how ill prepared they looked on Sunday against the Packers. Like there is no way that a team that had won 15 straight home games, not lost a home game all season, gets into the playoffs and you get, I mean, not you didn't lose, you got throttled. I
Yeah,
mean, from you got throttled from opening kickoff. I mean, they went right down the field and scored, and it was a snowball effect after that. It wasn't even close, like you mentioned. So from that standpoint, you would imagine that Dan Quinn is probably going to get a head coaching job. It might be a little tougher now, just based upon how they play, how the defense played this last game. But you imagine he's probably out as defensive coordinator. You got to get a new DC. Does Mike McCarthy still call plays? You know, does he give over the reins to the I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is for Dallas, but I know he's calling the plays. So does he give that responsibility over to the offensive coordinator or what? But something's got to give. They got to be able to run the ball. That's definitely something that they're going to have to address. They have to be able to run the football, and they got to find a way to stop the run. That's part of the reason why they drafted Monty Smith, and that didn't help. So they got to figure that part out. Personally, I think they need to move Michael Parsons to linebacker a little bit more, but that's just me. I'm not a Dallas fan. I could care less that they lost, to be honest. Um, but I wasn't too surprised. But there has to be some changes because last 3 years you're going 12-5, 12-5, which is cool. But this was the year where a lot of people thought, okay, the the best shot for the 49ers to not go to the Super Bowl was the Dallas Cowboys. And now they're out in the first round on wild card weekend. So it was a disappointment um, for the Dallas organization. I know the fans and everything. So something's got to change. But Mike McCarthy he's probably on a 1 year deal right now. You got to figure it out or you out of there. So
Yeah, they definitely have to figure out how to run the ball a lot more effectively, which was kind of like, I don't want to say an oxymoron, but just ironic that
hmm
pretty much Mike McCarthy got rid of Kellen Moore saying that he didn't run the ball enough, and then he goes out here and calls the plays and don't run the ball enough.
at all.
And tell Jerry Jones that we're going to run the ball more, and you
hmm
don't do it. Granted, regular season wise, Dak had one of his best seasons, probably his best season, but it was just, I don't know, man. It was just so crazy how which seeing it for yourself, and then hearing like former players and the all the analysis and everything that came about how what you
hmm
talked about, how just how unprepared Dallas looked, and the fact that they pretty much kept their same tendencies, didn't switch up anything, like the pick six that Savage had on Dak. It seemed like he already knew that that play was coming when he seen it lined
hmm
up, seeing it on film. Like, oh, whoa, wait! I got this 3-by-1. Y'all got CD right there in the slot at number 2. And this, I know I got Cooks here 3 on the inside, but I know that slant for him is just to clear it out because you're gonna throw it right here to him. So I'm not even gonna worry about him. And it's just like, boom, hit him right there and it
Thank
was
you.
gone. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like plays like that shouldn't be happening if you would try to find a way to break your tendencies, switch it up, do something
hmm
differently, run the ball more effectively. Now, the interception that Jair made on
that's
Brandon
tough.
Cooks, I think that's just a great defensive play. You know what I'm saying? You got to give
Yeah,
him credit for that. But it's just like
that's tough.
that. Like you said, the defense not being able to stop the run all year. Aaron Jones had 2 rushing touchdowns the whole season, and he got 3 on Sunday. it's just
Three
like
of them.
it's like the
And AJ Dillon
Packers.
didn't even play.
The AJ Dillon didn't even play. The Packers have more wins inside of AT&T Stadium, more playoff wins inside of AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys do.
Now
That's
that
insane.
is tough.
That's insane. And it's just, like I said, you can see the score and be like, oh, I mean, well, 48-32. No, it was like, I mean, it was
It was
27 to 7.
48-16.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it
like
was bad.
27 at the halftime. It was like 48 to
hmm
16 with like 5 minutes to go. So it was kind of like just pretty
The
much
game was
garbage
over.
stats. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
garbage time TDs that they were getting, and the game was over. Like I don't know, if it was something mentally or a mix of it, where it's just mentally wasn't prepared and also just
Yeah.
wasn't prepared on the field. Like I'm seeing CD drop passes that he normally doesn't drop. Mike McCarthy is over there having to talk to him and he's looking like he's about to pout, like he's about to cry for something. I'm just like, and this is
Yeah. I
early
don't.
in the game. It wasn't like it hadn't got
Yeah.
out of hand just yet, but it was just like And I get
I
it,
th-
every day is not going to be your best day, but it's just
no.
damn, it just so happened that today was the day that they decided to play the
Hmm.
worst football ever. Like,
Yeah, I think that pressure got to him a little bit, and when Green Bay went down there and put that ball in the back of the end zone on that first drive, like they walked the ball down the field and scored. I think that might have put a little, you know, might have had folks kind of looking around like, all right,
here
what
we
we
go
gonna
again.
do? And
Yeah,
then everything, what happened happened. So it is what it is. They blew it. Like I said,
yeah,
all the Cowboys fans. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I know my team didn't make it to the playoffs. That's all good, but y'all supposed to at least make it to the NFC Championship, and you blew it. And we beat the Packers. So there you go.
facts. It is what it is. So I guess maybe maybe this is another case of ball don't lie, right? I mean, you remember the Lion Cowboys game and trying to figure out who reported eligible, didn't report eligible, and apparently he did. The offensive lineman did, and we're thinking, oh man, Detroit
Maybe.
could have been a 2 seed. They would have had a chance to
Mm-hmm.
host two uh playoff games, and they only get to, and now they get to host 2 games. Man,
Ball don't
you
lie.
never think about things like that, but that's just something to think about. But
No,
you
you're
know,
right.
we moving on here to the divisional round, and like we stated
Mm-hmm.
earlier, man, these last couple seasons, the divisional round has been uh crazy, right? Crazy games. Great finishes, last second field goals, just touchdowns, overtimes, all kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's just been happening. So we got some real great matchups here. What's
Mm-hmm.
one game that you looking forward to this weekend?
The obvious one is Chiefs Bills. That's the obvious one. Um, but I'm interested to see how the Texans roll into Baltimore. I'm interested to see how the Texans roll into Baltimore. Baltimore was rolling, especially at the end of the season. Found their mojo to coming off that bye week. I don't know. I think Mark Andrews is going to be back a little bit. I'm pretty sure if he's back, he'll probably be limited. Um,
Yeah, they did
but
take him off the reserve
yeah, he's
list.
he's
So
supposed to be off of IR.
yeah,
Um, Marlon Humphrey is still out, so that's tough. As of right now, he's still out. But um, how does Houston look going into Baltimore, and how does Baltimore look? Does Baltimore come out and do they look like the team that we saw all season, the team that we saw the last couple of weeks um, of the regular season? Um, are they rusty? That type of stuff. But I'm interested, I want to see what CJ Stroud does against that defense. Because if there's, I mean, there's some good defense in the playoffs, but there's a good defense. Baltimore has a very good defense. And so I know they'll be locked and loaded and ready for CJ. I know they're not going to take him lightly because of what he just did to Cleveland's defense, who Baltimore has seen up close and personal. And I know that Cleveland had a lot of injuries, especially in the back end, but Cleveland had a very, very good defense, and they went out there and lit them up. So I'm interested to see how the Texans look going into Baltimore on Saturday.
yeah. The obvious is to say Chiefs Bills just because of the matchups that they had the past
Hmm.
few seasons in the playoffs. Um, and people are ready to, which I kind of see it, but I don't really see it yet. People have been always been out here trying to look for that next Brady versus Manning, and
Hmm.
in a way, in a sense, just because these teams keep meeting up, this could be the makings of another that with Mahomes and Allen. I'm
Hmm.
not ready to give it that yet. I'm not sure, but for me, I'm right there with you. It's the Texans and Ravens, and I'm kind of looking at it the more so, for the Ravens, right? The last time we saw them as a number one seed was the 2019 season, Lamar's
Yep.
MVP year, on track to probably have another MVP this season, and they came out real flat against the Titans.
Yeah.
Granted, it wasn't all Lamar Jackson's fault. If you go back, there was a lot of drop passes, a
Hmm.
lot of drop passes from the Ravens wide receivers, right? So just wondering how they'll come out. And they faced CJ Stroud earlier this year. I think it was in like
Mm-hmm.
week 1, week 2, but that was week 1. CJ Stroud. That is night and day right now.
Oh yeah.
Figuring out how what he is and how he was able to perform out there on the big stage. So that I'm interested in that Texans Ravens game too, just to see what ends up happening. Just because this can be tricky, right? This really
Mm-hmm.
can be tricky. That D'Amico Ryans, which now after that game against Cleveland, he has my vote for Coach of the Year. If I had a
He's
vote,
got to be. He's
if
got to
he had,
be.
that's to me that's Coach of the Year for sure, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, he has these guys balling. He's still coaching them up on the sideline, um, getting them in the right spots and everything like that. So it's just gonna be interesting to see what happens in that game, just because of it's a lot at stake, really. Which every game
Mm-hmm.
has a lot at stake now, but it's a lot at stake, especially for Baltimore, because just from the last time we saw them as a 1 seed, They didn't do too well. And then you have that debate of rest versus rust. Once again, that always seems to happen now, especially the fact that it's just one team that's getting that bye week, and
Yeah.
everybody else is having to play. So the spotlight is really on them. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that game right there. That's the most one I'm definitely interested to see. Man, so we get ready here into the predictions for it. On Saturday, we got both the 1 seeds in action. So we got Texans Ravens. We just been briefly talking about it here now. Who you got in this one?
I'm gonna take Baltimore. I'm gonna take Baltimore to win this one. I think that they handle business. They're not gonna take the Texans lightly, and I think that their defense definitely um, welcomes CJ to playoff football, and I think they go out there and play well. I think the Ravens continue to look as dominant as they looked throughout the season, especially late in the season. So I'm gonna go with Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Baltimore as well. I think it'll be close. The Texans will give them a hell of a game, but I do think the difference is going to be it's going to be 8. That's just it is what it is. He has to have him a game too, because we don't want him to where he falls into that conversation of kind of like Dak, right?
Yeah,
Like, oh, okay, great regular season numbers, you're doing this, you're doing that, but what's your playoff record? Like, do we do you want to throw your name in this hat too, to where it can be you know, in the AFC in that time when we were growing up, it was Brady, it was Manning, and every now and again you'll catch Big Ben, right? You know,
yeah.
do you want to be the one that kind of throw your name in there and be like, hey, I'm here too, or is it going to
Hmm.
be Brady Manning, or are you going to be Brady Manning? We'll throw Big Ben in there, and then Lamar's like, what about me? You're Phillip Rivers. It's kind of like, all right, the numbers are great. You're a great quarterback, but
Yeah,
what
I
success
hear
did
that.
you really have in the playoff, right? Because it's
Hmm.
kind of be like, there now, because now there's Mahomes, Allen, Joe Burrow. Let's not
Yeah,
forget, you know what I
got to be
mean.
Joe
So
Burrow.
you got to,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, you got to throw them in there, right? And granted, he had the season-ending injury, so that's unfortunate for Cincinnati, but Lamar obviously wants to have his name in those conversations, to where you mentioned those 3 quarterbacks. You got to throw him in there too. So
Hmm.
this is definitely one of those games where he have to prove it, right? So I think he does it. I think he'll be prepared, and I think, like you said, the defense for Baltimore will they'll make sure that Nico Collins isn't the one that's running down, running down the
Yeah.
sideline for sure, and
Hmm.
open for touchdowns, or missing tackles, like how Cleveland did with their Brevin Jordan touchdown.
Hmm.
They'll make sure Patrick Queen will get those guys ready. Uh, they'll be ready to roll. I think this team has a different feel, like a different look in their eyes, to know like
Hmm.
we 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 have to get this done. So I'm rolling with Baltimore as well. Then over in the NFC, we got the Green Bay Packers coming off that big surprise win against the Cowboys. Now they head out west and face Uh, another great team as well, and playing the San Francisco 49ers. They're coming out the bye
Yeah,
week as well. So, uh, who you got in this one?
I'm taking San Francisco. Uh, I do think that Green Bay is going to play well. They're going to have to be able to throw the ball um, like they did against Dallas because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball with the same effectiveness. It would definitely help if AJ Dillon was healthy for this game because he is a bigger back and he is a load to tackle. But they're going to have to be able to throw the ball to maybe loosen up the defense so they can run, get some good runs off against that 49ers defense. But I'm going to go with San Francisco. I think that they're the better team. I think they're playing better or have played better throughout the year. Um, and I'm going to take that defense against Jordan Love and the offense. I just don't think they're going to have the same productivity that they had against Dallas. So I don't think the moment's going to be too big for the 49ers. I say it like that.
Yeah, I think obviously they're clear cut favorites to coming out of the NFC now, especially when you think about
Hmm.
who's left. Unfortunately, so I'm rolling with the 49ers too. I just think it's just going to be a little bit too much. It's going to be hard to run the ball on them, like you said. So they'll have to
Hmm.
throw it, and dealing with these young wide receivers, having to play against these experienced corners that San Francisco has, uh, and then just the offensive line having to get ready to show up to try to stop Bosa and Young, and then
Hmm.
Fred Warner's going to be flying all over the field, and you know Ward is having him a hell of a season.
Shout out to my boy, man. First Pro
You know,
Bowl, man.
yes sir, yes
Shout out to my
sir.
boy.
Ward,
Shout out
Ward
to
is having
Ward.
Ward is having a hell of a season. So
Hmm.
um, Green Bay has their work cut out for them, and
Yeah.
I think that's definitely gonna be the difference between this week and last week is the fact that we know Dallas really isn't that good at stopping the run. You really can't run that much on the 49ers defense. So,
Nah,
uh, you know, this
not
is
happening.
good luck with that. And it's pretty much they're gonna have to make Jordan Love beat them.
Hmm.
And I don't mean like, oh well, he only throws it 25, 28 times and for like and it's like efficient. Like no, they're gonna make him probably try to throw the ball 30 to 35 times, and if they can get him to make a mistake or two, that can
There's the
ultimately
game.
be yeah, there's the game. So
Yeah.
I'm rolling with the 49ers too. Then now Sunday we got the to me this is like the I guess you can say like the feel good matchup, right? Both these teams, I mean, you didn't know what to expect, I guess, and you didn't expect
Hmm.
much from them, and it's like, well, damn, here they are, right? So you got Tampa Bay. I think now they've won five straight. If you include the playoff game, now they've won five
Hmm.
straight. Big win they had against the 40, sorry, not the 49ers, but against the Eagles, excuse me, and the Detroit Lions, right? First time hosting a playoff game in a long time against the Rams. Had to go against their old former quarterback.
Hmm.
They find a way to get it done. Now, after seeing the Packers upset the Cowboys, now they get to host them another playoff game here. So I'm pretty sure the crowd's gonna be rocking again. It's gonna be electric in Ford Field. Man, who you got in this one between Tampa Bay and Detroit?
I'm gonna take Detroit. I think Detroit has been playing better. I think Detroit is a better team now. Tampa Bay has been playing better as of late, but I think, especially defensively, I think that Detroit will be able to match up with Tampa Bay, especially in the back end, better than what the Eagles were able to do. Um, I think Dan Campbell has those guys playing hard. They are a hard nosed physical football team, and I think just getting that, getting that monkey off the back of, okay, we did it. We won a playoff game. We good. Okay, now we can stop hearing about it because it was a home game. We're in the city. Everybody's talking about it. We can, all right, cool. We did it. Done. now we can focus on, okay, now let's now let's lock in and really, really be able to hone in on what we need to do versus having the pressure of trying to win the first playoff game in 30 plus years or whatever it is. So um, I'm gonna take the Lions, and I think Dallas matched up with the 49ers. The way the Lions look, man, I don't know. They might match up with the 49ers pretty well too. But we'll get into all that when if that's the matchup for the NFC Championship game. But I'm gonna take Detroit. I like what I saw from Detroit um, against the Rams. Hit a lull in that second half. Really couldn't put any drives together. So that's a little shaky for me. They
Mm-hmm.
got to be able to respond, especially once the Rams start making their run. Got to find a way to respond, put some points on the board offensively. But I'm gonna take Detroit.
To me, I think the key for this is which quarterback is not going to turn the ball over, right?
Mm,
Whoever doesn't do that will probably end up being in good shape for their team to win. As long as Jared Goff doesn't turn the ball over, I like Detroit because he didn't have a turnover last week either. I mean, it was the numbers weren't like eye popping, but he threw for I think like 270 something yards, threw for just one touchdown, but there was no turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles. When he's not turning the ball over, he's a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he
mm-hmm.
does what you need him to do to make sure that you don't lose the game. It's kind of like what Cam Newton kind of said about him in a way, right? I mean, I don't want to call him a game manager, but it's like you're just asking him not to win the game, but just don't lose it.
Yep.
Correct? I mean, because they have a great running back tandem with David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, so that's a good 1-2
That
punch that they
offense
got right
looks
there,
different with Jameer Gibbs in it, man.
dude. Come
It
on.
yeah,
So
he's different.
I mean, there's that, right? Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown uh,
Mm-hmm.
doing what he's doing. Jameson Williamson coming along now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporta, obviously. So just the weapons is there, right? So it's just kind of like there's there, and then nobody really wants to talk about it, but Detroit got a hell of a defense too, bro.
They got a good
Aaron
defense,
Aaron,
man.
Aaron Glenn is coaching them boys up. I mean, Kirby Joseph, great safety out there. Aiden Hutchinson, obviously leading that defensive line. Um, that doesn't get talked about much. So I think that as long as Jared Goff isn't turning the ball over, I like Detroit. So I'm gonna go with you with that one as well. I'm gonna take Detroit. And then the final game on tap. Obviously, this is becoming one of the more, uh, I guess, almost to the point now where you can add it into one of the more, I guess, newer playoff rivalries. I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared to really
No,
call it a rivalry yet.
okay, I see
If you
why.
if,
I
if
know
you if you
why.
get if you get what I'm saying,
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
think
to
it is
me,
though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess depending on how you look at it, right? I mean, probably it's the Chiefs and the Bills. If you look at it, probably if you're a Chiefs fan, you're saying, well, hey, y'all ain't won against us in the playoffs. Y'all beat us in the regular
Mm-hmm.
season, but not in the playoffs. So can we say it's a rivalry? But I mean, at the same time, how could you say it's not, right? I mean, they've met up so many times now recently.
Dude,
I mean, the Bills have caught them a couple of games, in the regular season. Hadn't got them in the playoffs. But the thing about it is, it seemed like all of those games was in Kansas City in Arrowhead. This one is going to be in Buffalo. Chiefs, Bills. First time seeing Patrick Mahomes on the road in a playoff game. Who you got?
I've been waiting. I have been waiting to see the Chiefs.
You've been talking about this for
Oh,
years.
for a
For
while.
years.
It has made me very upset because I have not been able to see them. And they've had the best record, so they get to play at home. They earned it. But you talk about some of these quarterbacks. You brought up Brady and Manning. You bring on some of these quarterbacks, Big Ben, guys that have gone and done it. Eli Manning's won 2 Super Bowls, things like that. They've had to go on the road in the playoffs and win games to be able to get to the Super Bowl. Tom Brady didn't get to host and be at home every year he wants the Super Bowl and won it and play at home throughout the whole playoffs. Peyton Manning did it. The first Super Bowl that Peyton Manning won, they didn't get to host that whole thing. Joe Flacco, when they went on that run with Baltimore, they had to go to Denver to play Denver, and then this and that. These teams had to go on the road and win football games. And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, in his time there, have not had to go on the road and play in a hostile environment in a playoff setting. And what better way to see what he does than in Buffalo against a team? This is why I think it's a rivalry against a team that has. I don't remember the last time the Chiefs have beaten the Bills in the regular season. Let's just throw that out there. I remember the last time the Chiefs have beat the Bills in the regular season, and it would make me upset because every time you get the schedule and you see Bills Chiefs, it's in Kansas City, and it's like when are you going to send Kansas City to Buffalo to go play up there in that weather, in that environment with them crazy fans that they have up there? Because they are going to be rocking. I already saw a tweet saying that when Bills fans see Taylor Swift, they're gonna rock bottom her through a table. Like it's up. It's up for everybody. It's up. It's game time for them folks up there, man. I've been wanting to see this because we, Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but most, if not all, great quarterbacks have done it at home and on the road. We don't know what Patrick Mahomes is going to look like on the road. We can assume and imagine that he's going to go out there and he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but you never know. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking the Bills to win this game at home. I think that they are tired. That core, that group is tired of playing Kansas City in the playoffs and losing. You go back to a couple years ago. I think if the Bills beat Kansas City in that divisional round, they go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they win it against
I
the
guess that would have been the
Rams,
Rams.
but
Yeah,
they'll be the Rams. But I think they go to the Super Bowl. I think they're in the Super Bowl. I think they're in LA playing in the Super Bowl if they beat Kansas City. I think the Bills have been playing well. I think the defense is playing well, and the difference is they've been able to run the football. Now they're going to play against a very good Kansas City defense. If the Bills can figure out how to run the football against Kansas City and keep Patrick Mahomes and those guys off the field, I like the Bills' chances. Josh Allen obviously can't turn the ball over, but I think the Bills are going to find a way to get it done. I am excited for this game because we had this just is something we haven't seen yet. We have not seen Patrick Mahomes go on the road and have to perform in a hostile environment, and it's going to be rocking. I mean, if people are talking about how cold it was in Kansas City and stuff, it might be a little different up there in Buffalo, and those fans. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait. Only thing, just one thing. I'm just kind of It's Tony Romo. It's Tony Romo calling this game. That's the only thing. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I ain't gonna go into what, but it's just like. But I'm taking the Bills. I'm excited to see what this game has in store.
bro, this game has that. I'm glad the way they schedule it that it's the last game of the weekend.
Hmm.
It's kind of like that fight card, right? And you look at the
Yeah.
lineup and it's like, oh, we got so many great undercards. Like all the games leading up to it's gonna be great, right? And then we're like, all right, we are ready for this main event. Like this main event is gonna happen, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be just one of them ones, right? That Buffalo crowd's gonna be rocking. Bills Mafia is gonna be. They had tables on fire last week and still jumping through them on top of with the snow. Like it,
Yeah, snow
them
piled
they
up and all. Yeah.
just insane, right? But you know how like certain teams, right? They are successful. They get in the playoffs, and they're able to win some playoff games. But it's like, man, this is one team they just can't beat, right? That's who the
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo Bills are right now, right? So like like it seemed like for a minute, right? Like the Chiefs could never beat the Steelers. Like those Alex Smith led teams, they get to the playoffs and somehow they play the Steelers. They could never beat the Steelers, right? And then you talk about the Steelers the same way, right? All those Ben Roethlisberger teams, for some reason, they can never beat New England. They couldn't
Couldn't get
they
it.
could never beat
Couldn't.
New England, right? It just seems like that's just the team. It's just like, all right, if they play them,
It's
damn,
probably
I don't know,
yeah.
right? The Kansas City Chiefs is who this is to the Buffalo Bills. When it comes to the playoffs, they just can't beat them. And you mentioned about how needing to see what makes you a great quarterback to see to be in that realm. Let's win some playoff games on the road. I think the Chiefs do it. I think they do it, and they cause some real rift and some controversy for Buffalo. Now they're wondering, is this the team that we have enough to do it? Do we
Yeah.
need to go get some more pieces? Why can't we get? Why can we can beat everybody else but this team?
Yeah.
How they gonna do it? I'm not sure, but I just have a feeling somehow, some way, Patrick Mahomes has like a vintage Patrick Mahomes game, and they've been.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about trying to run the ball? Kansas City can run the football. Isaiah
Yes.
Pacheco, which, and I said it last week that it was gonna be his type of game, and he did. I think
Yeah.
he had like almost 90 yards and a touchdown
Mm-hmm.
last week. They need another performance like that again, to where in a way necessarily Mahomes doesn't have to be all world, right? Just do what you got to do. If they ain't stopping the run, run the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to think, right? I don't know how bad it is now, but I know for a little minute Buffalo was kind of dealing with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So I know that they're not coming in, like 100% healthy. I'm not sure exactly what's the extent of now some of those guys' injuries, but yeah, I don't know. But a road team has to find a way to win it, right? Like all home teams can't end up winning these divisional games,
this
right?
yeah. This would
And
be the.
and and I think that's the team. I think Kansas City is the team that can do it just
Mm-hmm.
because of the championship pedigree, and this is a chance to add to their collection to prove it, right? To be like, I know a lot of y'all been talking about how we have yet to go on the road to play any of our playoffs games. We got very lucky that you know the ones even when we wasn't one seeds, that one seed's been falling out or higher seeds
Mm-hmm.
been before it's been getting eliminated beforehand, and that gives us a chance to where we can host all the playoff games and everything like that. I think now they're like, man, to hell with it. We gonna get it done. We gonna shut everything up. Bills Mafia is gonna be hush mode. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Okay.
But if the Bills win, I won't be surprised because the Bills Mafia is crazy. But I'm gonna roll with the Chiefs. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and take the Chiefs on that one for sure.
There it is. There it is.
I I can't wait, bro. I'm telling you, this
Mm-hmm.
weekend is. Damn, I wish it was snowed this upcoming weekend so I can just stay in and don't have to go nowhere for that. But I don't want. I'm good now on it. I don't want no more. I don't want no
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
snow now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
straight, right?
Yeah. You ready
I'm
for it
good.
to
Yeah,
melt?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good, man. We get ready to wrap up another episode here, man. You got any words you want to give up to the people?
No, man. Uh, enjoy your weekend. Continue to. Uh, strive and do what makes you happy, and complete the necessary tasks to help accomplish your goals that you have for the year. And get ready for another episode, man. Enjoy these playoff games because they this weekend should be good. This weekend should be good, starting with the Texans and the Ravens. So enjoy this playoff weekend, this divisional round.
Yeah, man. Same for me. I don't really have much to add on to it either. Just man, buckle up, get ready for a great weekend of the playoff football.
Hmm.
Um, they should be some. They should hopefully they are some great games. Um, and just really just continue to day by day, man, just get better at whatever you have going on for
Hmm.
yourself, man. Just day by day continue to get better. uh Once again, as always, we appreciate the support and the feedback that we get from you guys from the podcast. uh we truly appreciate it. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all the social medias on Twitter, on Instagram. uh we appreciate that. um, just continues to support us. We really can't do this, without y'all,
No,
basically. You
no,
know what
we
I'm
can't.
saying? So we definitely appreciate that. Um, Man, love black women, cherish black women, protect black women. No means no.
No means no.
Yeah, simple as that. You just, you know, because if you don't, then you may end up being like I'm sorry. Well, that's a free man now, apparently. So hey, that's that. But man,
I'm out.
look, hey,
I'm
hey,
out,
I'm
man.
just we'll just leave it at that, man. But
Yeah,
yeah, for sure, continue to like, subscribe to the podcast, support us on the social media. Uh, Man, if y'all got any topics that y'all want us to talk about, anything that you may have an idea for, we'll take that too. We're open to it as well. We'll never turn down anything what anybody has to say or ask us about,
hmm,
or anything like that. And just I mean, I guess just don't come trolling though. If you on that tip, then we gonna have to have a problem. But other than that, we'll be all right though, man. Till then, this has been another episode of the Easy Money Sports Podcast.
peace.